I had always trusted her. Every smile, every gentle word, every promise felt real, and I believed in the life we were building together. She was my anchor, my partner, the one person I thought could never hurt me. So when she told me she needed to help a friend that evening, I didn't think twice. I didn't even ask questions. I kissed her goodbye, waved as she left, and assumed she'd be back by dinner. But something in me, a quiet, uneasy voice I had long ignored, whispered that maybe, just maybe, I should see where she was going. I tried to shake it off, telling myself it was just paranoia, the kind that crept in when you cared too much. Yet, as the night stretched on, that whisper grew louder, more persistent, until I couldn't ignore it any longer. I grabbed my jacket and slipped out, following her from a distance, keeping to the shadows, telling myself I was only making sure she was safe. I watched as she walked with a confidence I had always admired, passing streets I didn't recognize. She turned corners, entered a small cafe tucked between closed shops, and sat down at a table in the far corner. My heart was calm at first, thinking it was harmless, but when I saw the man she greeted with a familiarity far too intimate, something inside me twisted. I had never seen her look at another person that way. The warmth, the laughter, the ease, it wasn't friendship. I waited, hidden, watching the scene unfold like a slow-motion nightmare. They exchanged whispered words, and then the man leaned in, brushing his hand over hers. She didn't pull away. She didn't hesitate. And in that moment, the walls of my world started to crumble. My mind refused to accept it at first. This had to be a mistake. Perhaps I was misreading everything. I wanted to believe that, desperately, as if clinging to a lifeline that was slipping through my fingers. Hours later, they left the cafe together, walking side by side with the kind of closeness that should have been mine. I followed them to a small apartment building I had never known existed, my stomach heavy with a mixture of fear, anger, and disbelief. Every step I took felt like a betrayal of the life I had thought we shared. The laughter I had once cherished, the trust one had held sacred, it all felt like a cruel illusion. I watched as they entered the apartment, and my heart sank further. I wanted to confront her then, to scream, to demand answers, but I couldn't. Part of me froze, paralyzed by the reality I was unwilling to face. I walked back home in a daze, replaying every memory, every moment, every subtle glance she had ever given me. Had I been blind all these years, or had she become a stranger right before my eyes? The next morning, I tried to act normal. I smiled at her, made coffee, asked about her day, pretending nothing had happened. But inside, I was collapsing piece by piece. The man I had seen her with lingered in my mind like a shadow, poisoning every thought. I replayed the footage of her laughter, the gentle touch, the shared secrets. Everything that had felt real now seemed like an elaborate performance, and I was left questioning the very foundation of our life. I confronted her that evening, my voice trembling even as I tried to keep it steady. I asked about the friend she had been helping, and she hesitated, her eyes flickering with something I had never seen before. Then, with a sigh heavy with guilt, she told me the truth. She had been meeting someone she had grown close to long before we met, and she had continued the affair in secret, spinning lies to cover her tracks. The words hit me like a physical blow, leaving me gasping, trying to breathe through the pain that wrapped around my chest like iron. I felt anger, the kind that burns from the inside out, followed by a profound sadness that seeped into every corner of my being. I wanted to yell, to throw things, to make her feel even a fraction of the agony I was enduring. But more than that, I felt betrayed in the deepest sense, the kind that doesn't just shatter trust, but shakes your very identity, leaving you unsure of who you are or what you believed in. The person I had loved, the life I had cherished, the future I had imagined, it all felt like ashes in my hands. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself walking through our home like a ghost. Every picture, every memento, every shared memory now carried the weight of deception. I couldn't see her the same way, couldn't hear her words without wondering which were true and which were lies. I realized that love, no matter how deep, could not survive the erosion of trust. And sometimes, the person you thought knew your heart best is the one who wounds it most profoundly. I tried to move on, tried to find a semblance of peace, but the image of her with him haunted me. I questioned myself endlessly, wondering what I missed, what signs I ignored, what mistakes I made that led to this collapse. And in those quiet, sleepless nights, I understood a painful truth: betrayal doesn't just break the heart, it rewires it. It changes you in ways that time alone cannot undo. In the end, I chose to leave, not in anger, but in a quiet resignation. I packed my things, walked out the door, and let the past stay behind, hoping that one day, I could rebuild a life that wasn't shadowed by her lies. I learned that love without trust is a hollow promise, and that some truths, once revealed, cannot be unseen. My world had collapsed, yes, but amidst the ruins, I began to piece together the fragments of myself, determined to rise again, stronger and wiser, knowing that some doors close not to punish us, but to protect the heart that remains. Did this story touch your heart? Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so more hearts can feel these stories too.